Okay, so I had actually already recorded this video, but I decided to re-record it. One, because I looked a hot mess in the other recording, and two, because it ended up being super long, and I really just want to shorten it as much as I can. I'm going to re-record my life update for like the literal past 3 years of my life. My last video was November 19th of 2022. Since then, well, after that last video was posted, that was when my best friend, who is now my husband, came home from A school. So he left boot camp, I think in beginning of October that year, and he ended up coming home end of November. Literally the same day he came home, I was at the dance studio with my sister, and his friend had brought him by to come and see me. Literally, since the day he got back from boot camp, I was spending like every day with him. We were together all the time, like during the summer too. Before, when we were friends, we didn't hang out just like with each other because I had a boyfriend, so all we really did was talk on the phone. Our relationship was not complicated at that time. I mean, yes, we had feelings for each other, and like, you know, we were still friends and had that whole thing going on, but his relationship status was complicated, unbeknownst to me, because I really, like, he talked to me about everything, but didn't give me full details that, you know, of course I found out later. He came home from boot camp. It was a lot that happened when he came home. There was a lot of personal stuff on his end that happened that you know, has still affected him even to now. It's affected a lot, like not just him, just other people, but it was definitely a lot. I feel bad for how it affected everyone. It was nothing I could really do to help the situation except be there for him, but and other parties that were involved, it affected them, and I was a part of like how they were affected. So it was a lot. We've all talked, we've settled things now, thankfully, and I'm happy about that because it had been sitting on my heart for a while, but now that we finally got to talk everything out, I feel a lot better about at least that end of everything. Well, he came home and then he left, went to his duty station, which is San Diego, and then a couple weeks later he asked me to marry him over FaceTime. Thought it was a joke, and I was not ready to get married, in a sense of I knew how I wanted things to be a certain way. I wanted him to ask my dad. I wanted an actual wedding. Like I didn't want to get married. The way we got married was not how I imagined myself getting married, but it happened anyways. And I definitely can say, like, we got married, we were both turning 19. So we were still 18 when we got married. It was a lot. And now, of course, we're 21 now. It's just, now I can say we truly were very, one, naive. Two, we got married for the wrong reasons. The wrong reasons as in, we could have waited. We didn't have to rush it. Me and him talked about literally everything. And marriage was something we talked about, not even with each other, but just in general. And so when our feelings for each other, you know, started developing and we talked about it, and he actually, before he went back to his duty station, felt like I would be the person he ended up marrying. And of course, in my mind, it's just like, ooh, butterflies. Because I didn't think that deep into it. Well, no, I did. I did think about it. I was like, I would marry him. Like, he's somebody I would marry. I just, of course, didn't think that, you know, a month and a half later, we actually would get married. So yeah, he asked me to marry him. And then he actually came home. He asked me in person. It was a certain way that I wish everything would have went, but it is what it is now. Our story is our story, and it's a chaotic one, honestly, but nonetheless, it's our story. And so he came home end of December. Mind you, the timeline is he came home the end of November from A school, went to San Diego beginning of December, came back home the end of December. Like, when he first joined the military, Zephaniah was always home. He was always home, and then after we got married, I was always in San Diego. Like, we were always seeing each other. He came home end of December around New Year's. He came home, I think, the December 30th of 2022, and we spent New Year's together. It was funny. We were at his dad's job for New Year's, and they were barbecuing. It was me, Zephaniah, Zanae, Joel, who she was dating at the time, and of course, like, his family. And me and Zanae, we started drinking. Not drunk, but we were up there. And I remember my mom calling, and she was like, "You gotta come home." I was like, "I don't want to come home." And it was so much going on. It's hilarious, to be honest. So that was New Year's, and there's some stuff that happened before me and him got married that should have been like a red flag. Do not make this decision right now. But, you know, I went and did it anyways. Honestly, we were just young and dumb. Like, we were young and dumb. Use context clues. It was just young and dumb stuff happening, literally. Like, the first year of our marriage was just young dumb. He had just joined the military. I was in college. He had been through a lot of stuff, just like in his previous relationship. He had any other issues he was working through. I had just, well, I won't say I just got out of a relationship, but I kind of had just got out of a relationship. I had my own issues, but I was also like discovering a new person that I was in college. It was a lot going on. And then we got married, and it was just like, for me, and like, this is just being honest, after we got married, it was no longer about me anymore. I made everything about him. And I dove headfirst into the role of being a wife. We got married January 6th, 2023. Just like, okay, I'm a wife now, you know, all of the stuff I would normally do, which it was some stuff I had to learn, of course, and some stuff that he had to, you know, tell me he did or didn't like. Because, mind you, we never actually dated. We went from being best friends to having, you know, this complicated in-between phase to getting married. Like, literally, we never dated. So we didn't know what the romantic aspect of each person looked like, other than what we witnessed in our other relationships. So, very interesting, to say the least. It's improved a lot. The beginning of our marriage was a hot mess, and that's literally one of my points. Like, just marriage is hard, period. That's it. That's the gag. It's hard. I always looked at love and marriage as a fantasy, not because I literally thought it was a fantasy, but because that's what I wanted for myself. And I got married, and I quickly realized, everybody is not like this. He literally told me straight up at one point, he was like, "You want me to be like this knight in shining armor riding in on a white horse?" And he was like, first of all, the horse is black. It was a lot. We got married. A lot of stuff happened the first year of our marriage. We went through a lot with each other, a lot with financially, just a lot in general. And a lot of things, like I said, things have definitely gotten better. But the distance, well, at first the distance wasn't as big of a problem because we were going and seeing each other all the time. But we'll get to that. So we were married. I got pregnant. It had to have been in April. I found out on Mother's Day in May. And then I had a miscarriage the week after my birthday in June, on June 12th. So that was hard. Just after everything we went through, that was like the nail in the coffin of what just kind of messed me up. And I changed a lot. Like, my husband saw a lot of change, and he didn't really like it. I can say I became kind of like, I don't want to say it in that sense, but I was definitely a lot more blunt and forward and just very kind of nonchalant about some things. And then I was also very emotional about everything, which, you know, naturally I had just lost a kid. So the next month he came home. Mind you, when I had the miscarriage, he was not even in the US. He was on an underway. I think he was in Japan at the time. So he wasn't here when it all happened. And when he came, we never really talked about it, to be honest. He was gone for maybe 2 or 3 months. But when he got back, we never actually had a conversation about it. I think I mentioned it, but like I told him through an email because we couldn't talk on the phone. Like, it was one of those situations. It sucked, but we didn't really talk about it much. He did buy me a car, not like as a like trying to make me, not a thing to make me feel better, because he had promised to give me a car anyway, so I had got a brand new car. But yeah, that was hard. So I got a new car, and then I got pregnant again. Found out I was pregnant at the end of August, and that was at a time we were at a point in our marriage where I was just like eye twitching with him. But yeah, I found out I was pregnant, and I was like, are you effing kidding me? But that time, it wasn't like when I found out I was first pregnant, I had a breakdown with that first pregnancy. I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. The second time, I was like, okay, I kind of expected this, which that's something I can explain in a whole other video, because my pregnancy and my birth story and just everything involving my daughter, that needs its own video. But so yeah, I found out I was pregnant in August, and before that, he was trying to get me to move. He wanted me to move to San Diego. I utterly refused. I kept refusing until like beginning of September. I was finally like, you know what, fine, I'll move. I was coerced by him and others. Like, I just was like, okay, I'm gonna move. But I really didn't want to, because I was gonna have to leave my family. I was leaving my job at the studio, which I was just like, literally me working at the dance studio was my dream. Not actually working at the studio itself, but just getting this introduction into dance, into choreography, and working directly under someone and learning all that I was learning about having a studio and competition and all the different things that, I had been a part of. But that was because my sister dances there, so I didn't work there. But me working there was a different experience. And so I was just like, I really have to give that up. And I did. I left in the middle of the season, which it was my second year working there. And that was like peak time for me. I had 4 competition dances. I had 4 competition dances, recital dances. Like, I was in there. I think I had like 2 Christmas dances. I was working. I was doing so well. And then I had to tell the director, okay, yeah, so this is the situation. I have to move in December. And I felt so bad about it that that situation literally broke my heart, because I didn't want to leave. I really just did. In the way that I left, I was like, bro, like, I felt it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I felt like it was something I just could not come back from. Like, clearly I'm back home and I'm working at the studio, but I just was like, I feel like since I left the way that I did, I'm just like, I know for me personally, like, this is a business. Now you're not reliable. I felt like I was going to be seen as unreliable. And I mean, I up and left. It sucked. But yeah, I ended up moving, and I moved in December of 2023. So I'm gonna have to come back and finish this. I have to go to work, but I'm definitely gonna finish this up, and I'm gonna try to keep it short. Okay, so I'm pretty sure where I left off was me moving to San Diego. I moved to San Diego December of 2023. I stayed there all of 2 months. While I was there, I totaled the new car that I had got, and I ended up moving back home in February. And the reason I ended up moving back home was due more to like financial issues, and the fact that overall I really didn't want to be there. Like, I had wanted to move before when me and my husband first got married, but after a while, like, because he didn't want me there initially, I just, I was like, fine, I'm okay being home, and like, we just go back and forth with visiting. I ended up moving anyways. Like I said, I didn't like it out there. Financially, it was hard. San Diego is one of the most expensive cities in the U.S. to live in. So it's just like, and with military pay, it really doesn't help. You really don't make a good amount of money being in the military unless you're single, or even if you're married with no dependents. But with dependents, unless you are a second class or have an officer ranking, like you're a chief or some sort, it's not really helping much living in such an expensive place. But besides that, my husband decided, okay, you're gonna move back home for several different reasons, mostly financial, and the fact that I hated it, and I was about to have a baby. Like, I needed help, and I just missed my turn. So yeah, it was the best decision that we could have made at that time. So I moved back home after my husband's birthday, and once I had moved back home, I moved back in with my parents, because in college, after I left from being on campus, I moved in with my in-laws, and I lived there for a year. So I hadn't been home in 2 years. So this was my first time being back home in a long time, like since I had graduated high school. And you know, it was when, like, literally me coming back home, I felt like everything was gonna be like brighter and lovelier and different, but honestly, I was still stressed and depressed and had other issues going on. So got home in February, had my baby shower in March, which it was kind of stressful, but not because of the baby shower itself, just in general with my circumstance. I had my baby shower March 16th, and then I went into labor with my daughter literally a week later. She was due May 1st, and I went into labor like May 23rd or 24th, and I was in the hospital for about 5 days before I actually had her. And it was the day that I was supposed to be discharged to go home that my contractions picked back up, and they were like, okay, yeah, we got to keep you in the hospital. I ended up giving birth that night at 8:09 p.m. She was 6 pounds 1 ounce, and it was just like, what in the actual crap. But had my daughter on a Thursday, went home like Saturday morning, and honestly, everything didn't hit me until I went home to my in-laws' house. That was where we stayed while my husband was taking his paternity leave. And like I said, it really didn't hit me until we got to the house, and I was just like, what the F? I was sad, I was anxious, I had all these different feelings. I didn't know what to do. I just was crying. I was bleeding and like couldn't really control my bladder and everything. Like, it was a lot going on, and I was stressed and overwhelmed. I didn't sleep for the first 48 hours of her being at home. Like, I was just awake. It was a lot, but I got through it. Clearly, I'm here. So when it came to my husband going back, I went back. He stayed for a month. I went back home with my parents, and at that point, after I went back home, you know, I was getting ready to start working again. I started looking for a job because we needed the extra, not that we needed the extra money, but, you know, my husband's out in San Diego. San Diego's expensive. He needs to eat and has other things that he needed. So to make sure I had a little bit extra money, we both decided it would be best for me to work part-time. I started working in August of 2024. Yeah, started working. I finally was able to get another car, because remember I totaled my car the end of January, the beginning of that year. Hello, Michael. So I didn't have a car for like 8 months. Finally got another car, and honestly, after that, it was just a lot of firsts. You know, Thanksgiving, her first Christmas, first New Year's, all these wonderful things happening in life. But again, it wasn't easy. It was hard to get through, especially with my husband moving. I ended up moving back with my in-laws this year, 2025, in March, when my husband came for about a month, like his last month of maternity leave, because they get 12 weeks total. So he took his last month so he could be here for our daughter's birthday. And I moved back with them so that I would have more help, especially with me working. Because before, I was waking up at like 4:45 in the morning, getting up, getting the baby, dropping her off, and then going to work. I used to open at work at 6:30, and I worked with my mother-in-law, so me and her ended up switching shifts so that she opened and I had to get to work then at 7. So it helped, but it was still a lot, like just having to get up, drop her off, like doing all the extra stuff, and I just needed more help in general. So I ended up moving back, and now, you know, lots happened just within the past month itself. I found out a lot of, you know, big news concerning my family, stuff happening with my husband and his job. You know, the plan now that I moved back to San Diego in September, but again, military and other circumstances may either delay and or change that plan. So that's been the past 3 years of my life. Long story short, it has been a ride, and I'm just trying to get through each day, keep my head up, and do what I gotta do, because I don't have another choice. Keep faith, keep praying. You know, only Jesus can get you through some things, and I've learned that on more than one occasion. After becoming a mom, the anxiety and other issues that I had got really bad. So relying on the Lord is definitely something that I started to learn, and that I'm actively trying to do more than I did before. But that's my life update. Of course, I re-recorded this because the initial video I didn't like and was way too long, and now this one is maybe like 30 minutes, but I'm gonna try to shave it down a little bit more. That's my life. That's what's happening. We'll see what's next. We'll see what we do with this. I'm gonna just try to keep doing it because I miss making my videos. So just trying to start it up again and see what I get from it, at least internally. Right. See ya.